A soured relationship between two dorm mates drove one young man to seek out a hitman to have his adversary killed, landing him in custody on suspicion of solicitation to commit first-degree murder and possession of a weapon on college grounds. The Colorado State Bureau investigation announced the arrest of 19-year-old Fort Lewis College student Jackson T. Keller last week in a press release which states that the suspect tried to persuade two individuals to kill a fellow student. Police learned about the attempted murder for hire from one of the people Keller approached, who said that the friendship between Keller and the victim had gone awry in recent weeks. The tipster told investigators that after he turned down the job, he witnessed Keller calling three men with guns and sending them money on Cash App after they agreed to carry out the hit. Keller denied any wrongdoing and took his father's advice not to talk to law enforcement without a lawyer. He's currently free on bond while he awaits his next court hearing, which is scheduled for February 23rd, and is banned from having any contact with or going near the victim. Number 35. Kathy Lawton. A senior citizen will likely spend the remainder of her twilight years behind prison walls after being sentenced to hard time for murdering her husband. The underlying incident took place in November of 2024 at an assisted living facility in Pueblo, Colorado, where 73-year-old Kathy Lawton ran up to the front desk, panicking and covered in blood. She had stabbed her 85-year-old husband Larry at least 3 times in the chest, and he was pronounced dead at the scene. Kathy reportedly smelled of booze and was unable to provide law enforcement with a consistent account of what led up to the incident. She admitted that she and Larry had gotten into an argument, and staff members told investigators that she had assaulted the victim in the past, resulting in the previous removal of a gun and kitchen knives from the couple's apartment. During questioning, Kathy conceded that she had become frustrated with Larry's slow recovery from back surgery. She was found guilty at trial in December and has been sentenced to 20 years in prison. Number 34. Zachery Gilbert. In an update to a case we've covered before on this channel, an Ohio man has been spared from a lifelong prison term after pleading guilty to killing his ex-girlfriend. 25-year-old Zachery Gilbert fatally shot 34-year-old mother of 3, Briana Otley, with her own gun in September of 2024. During an argument at the victim's Greenville home where the suspect was staying while he looked for his own place following the former couple's recent breakup, Gilbert was angry because he suspected Otley of seeing another man and had been drinking when the altercation took place. After shooting Otley, he fled the scene and waited an hour to dial 911, by which point it was too late to save the victim's life. Gilbert was originally charged with murder but pleaded guilty to a reduced involuntary manslaughter charge in December and was sentenced early last week to the maximum of 14 to 19.5 years in prison. Otley's family vocally opposed the plea agreement, which the judge approved of despite their wishes to the contrary, and are now left feeling betrayed and failed by prosecutors who they claim had promised to take the case to trial. Number 33. Sterling James and Sayde Titus. 2 suspects have been arrested in connection with the disappearance and deaths of a Nebraska couple and their unborn child, following the victim's mysterious disappearance in mid-January. 26-year-old Hannah Neville was 32 weeks pregnant and excited about becoming a mum, so when she failed to attend important medical appointments, the people in her life knew something was wrong. It soon became evident that both Hannah and her husband, 27-year-old Roberto Tanner, had gone missing under suspicious circumstances. Investigators traced their last known whereabouts to several locations in Lincoln, including a home of Tanner's half-brother, 24-year-old Sterling James, and his girlfriend, 22-year-old Sayde Titus. 10 days after Neville and Tanner were last seen alive, Neville's vehicle was found engulfed in flames. While the victims' bodies have yet to be found, James reportedly admitted to shooting the couple and burning their bodies. He was arrested last week on suspicion of 2 counts of first-degree murder, while Titus faces 2 counts of aiding and abetting for helping him in the aftermath of the double homicide. Authorities have yet to reveal an alleged motive, and the investigation is ongoing. Number 32. Stephen Hamblin. In the latest case of a parent getting carried away over children's sports, a Kentucky man is facing charges for threatening several people at gunpoint after becoming upset over his son's playing time during a youth basketball game in Verona. Details of the incident were revealed in news reports from last week, which state that 28-year-old Stephen Hamblin confronted the boys' coach in the parking lot, leading to an argument and a scuffle between the two men. The fight was broken up, at which point Hamblin was seen going to his vehicle and retrieving what appeared to be a gun. Bystander footage showed the suspect waving the weapon around and repeatedly threatening to shoot a group of around 8 people who were affiliated with the visiting team. Hamblin had left the scene by the time police arrived, but officers soon caught up with him at his residence. He claimed he had acted in defense of his family during an attack, but was arrested on suspicion of wanton endangerment, tampering with physical evidence, unlawful possession of a weapon on school property, and endangering the welfare of a minor. Records show that Hamblin is being held at the Boone County Jail, with bond set at $200,000, and is due back in court this week. Number 31. Briana Flowers and Anfernee Pollard. A Nevada woman who had recently accused her ex-boyfriend of stalking her has been shot to death, along with a friend who was staying with her at her Las Vegas home to help her feel safe. Just a week before she was killed, 31-year-old Briana Flowers had reported her former partner to law enforcement for injuring her so badly that she needed medical care. She also told a relative that she had woken up to see a man staring at her through her window and that she believed it was her ex. Details of the double homicide surfaced last week in news reports, which revealed that police were alerted to the crime scene by Flowers' young son, who saw his mother in distress and called 911. Both victims had died by the time police arrived, and no arrests have been made. The investigation is ongoing, and law enforcement is encouraging anyone with information to come forward and share what they know. Number 30. Jordan Weems. Authorities have released new details in the case of an Oklahoma teen who's accused of murdering his adoptive mother. Last week, we told you about 49-year-old Spring Weems, who was found dead and stuffed in an outdoor trash can outside her Edmond home, where police responded to a call about a fight between 2 boys. Officers were met by Spring's 2 sons, one of whom accused the other of killing their mother. 16-year-old Jordan Weems reportedly confessed to beating and bludgeoning Spring to death and attempting to cover his tracks while concocting a story to explain her absence. According to recently released court documents, the teen had told his siblings about his plan to kill their mother after she punished him for sneaking out and getting into a police pursuit. After learning about the incident, Spring had made Jordan and his brother dress like a prisoner, eat prison food, and write a letter apologizing to the police. Prosecutors have charged Jordan as an adult with first-degree murder, desecration of a human corpse, and unauthorized removal of a dead body. The judge granted the state's request for the defendant to be detained without bond during a recent bond hearing, and is due back in court on February 24th. Number 29. Aurelio Escobar. A member of the Norteños gang has been extradited to Washington state to face justice for the murder of his girlfriend of 8 months, who was mercilessly gunned down in August of 2021. According to authorities, Aurelio Escobar killed 24-year-old Jennifer Caridad, then dumped her blood-covered SUV at Bergland Lake, where he shot and carjacked a man. He continued his crime spree into neighboring Oregon, committing several additional carjackings along the way, and was captured following a shootout with police near Medford. Escobar, who's now 30 years old, was charged with crimes in both Washington and Oregon. He was being detained in Oregon, where he was recently found guilty of drug and gun charges, and has since been extradited to Washington, where he faces charges of first-degree murder, first-degree robbery, first-degree unlawful possession of a firearm, and 2 counts of attempted first-degree robbery. During a recent bond hearing, Escobar's public defender refuted the state's argument that he's a flight risk and asked for bond to be set at less than $1 million, while the prosecution pushed for a $3 million bond. The judge imposed a $1.5 million bond, and the defendant remains in the custody of the Yakima County Department of Corrections. Number 28. Anfernee Schanuth. A Missouri man is behind bars after shooting his girlfriend in the face and walking outside to smoke a cigarette while the victim bled out with life-threatening injuries. Heather Syoric narrowly survived, with severely disfiguring injuries that she sustained during her attempt to leave 49-year-old Anfernee Schanuth, who stopped her while she was trying to pack a bag and leave the couple's Florissant home. She was reportedly planning to end the relationship for good, but Schanuth apparently wouldn't allow it, leaving her with a destroyed jaw and a shattered neck The couple had been together for less than a year when the shooting occurred, and Sayde now faces a lengthy road to recovery and potentially lifelong damage which will require reconstructive surgery. She remains hospitalized in the intensive care unit and is unable to speak. Police arrested Schanuth at the crime scene while responding to reports of gunfire shortly before 4 o'clock in the morning. He remains jailed at the St. Louis County Justice Center on charges of first-degree domestic assault and armed criminal action with bonds set at $500,000. Number 27. Deisy Yamileth Martinez Garcia. When a young girl showed up at a counseling appointment in Miami with a black eye and was questioned about her injury, she said that her mother had punched her in the face while drunk, leading to the arrest of Deisy Yamileth Martinez Garcia on a child neglect charge. The victim also revealed that her mother had been meeting men at the beach and bringing them home, where they were intimate in front of her daughter. Investigators spoke with a roommate who corroborated the girl's story. She said that she had told Martinez Garcia to stop bringing men back to the residence and that she had noticed on previous occasions that the victim and her brother seemed soiled and malnourished. Martinez Garcia claimed that she had struck her daughter by accident while trying to wake her up. But authorities did not believe her story and booked her into Turner Guilford Night Correctional Center, where she's being held on an immigration detainer, in addition to the child neglect charge. Number 26. Kenny Wu. Unwilling to accept that his marriage was over, a California man stabbed his wife and her new lover to death in a hotel parking lot in Palm Desert. 37-year-old Kenny Wu was found guilty last week of 2 counts of first-degree murder in connection with the incident, which took place in July of 2022. The victims, Yaying Yaya Wu and Jesus Sanchez, were pronounced dead at the scene, where deputies also found Wu suffering from injuries. During Wu's trial, prosecutors accused the defendant of killing the victims after Yaya told him she wanted a divorce. The state presented evidence of stalking, infidelity, domestic violence, and other marital issues that took place in the months leading up to the double homicide, during which time Kenny discovered that Yaya was having an affair. He struggled to forgive his wife, and on the day of the killings, he had found out about Yaya's plans to meet with Sanchez. Kenny waited in the parking lot until the victim showed up, then stabbed them both multiple times. He remains in custody as he awaits sentencing, which is scheduled for April 17th. Number 25. Ashland Crank. When a young Arizona woman's mother told her to pack her bags and that she was going into rehab, she flew into a rage. The incident unfolded early last week at the victim's condo in Scottsdale, where she was attacked from behind by 24-year-old Ashland Crank while outside cleaning up her yard. According to a recently obtained probable cause affidavit, neighbors overheard the victim screaming for help and dialed 911 while also witnessing Crank trying to drag her mother into the garage as she tried to escape. Emergency responders found Crank attempting to perform life-saving measures on the victim, who had collapsed on a sidewalk in front of the house. Crank's mother suffered 18 stab wounds and was rushed to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. She later recalled her daughter stabbing her with such ferocity that the knife broke, and she told police that she believed she would have died if Crank had succeeded at forcing her inside. Following her arrest, Crank was charged with attempted second-degree murder, aggravated assault, kidnapping, and disorderly conduct with a weapon. She remains in custody, with bond set at $300,000. Number 24. Bailey Slater. Instead of looking out for an elderly patient's best interests, a Florida hospital worker allegedly stole the 94-year-old's wallet and went on a shopping spree. According to news reports from last week, 28-year-old Bailey Slater was working as a patient care technician at a medical facility in Brandon when she helped herself to the senior citizen's belongings. Later that day, she went to Target, where she was seen leaving the store with $500 worth of merchandise after using the senior citizen's credit card. Detectives quickly identified Slater as the suspect, and she was charged with 2 counts each of fraudulent use of personal information of an elderly person and unauthorized use of a credit card, and 1 count of petty theft. She turned herself in after learning that she was wanted and was released from custody after posting a $7,500 bond. Number 23. Jayla Brown. A Texas woman has been charged with the murder of her boyfriend, who was stabbed to death at a Harris County intersection in December. Officers discovered the carnage shortly before midnight while responding to the scene, where they found 21-year-old Keelan Foreman unresponsive in the back seat of her vehicle. He was bleeding from multiple stab wounds to the nose and face, and he succumbed to his injuries in the hospital several weeks later. Police tracked down the vehicle's owner, 24-year-old Jayla Brown, and spoke with her and several witnesses who initially claimed that they found Foreman lying on the ground bleeding after an altercation. A few days later, Brown showed up at a police station with a written confession which stated that she had stabbed Foreman with a screwdriver during an argument. Brown said that she struck the victim in response to being hit in the face, at which point she blacked out. But Foreman did not appear to strike her in surveillance footage of the fight, leading to the suspicion that the suspect was being untruthful. Following the victim's death, Brown was charged with murder. She remains in custody with bond set at $150,000, and it's unclear whether she has entered a plea. Number 22. Justic Cofield. Determined to send a message to her ex-boyfriend, an Arizona woman attacked the man's female friend at a roller rink in Glendale, then bragged about the assault on social media. According to reports, 25-year-old Justic Cofield struck the woman in the face with a roller skate, leaving her with 2 black eyes, a concussion, and broken teeth. She later messaged the victim on Instagram and posted about the incident on her story, which included admissions to the beating and her hope that the assault would convey a message to her ex-boyfriend. The attack was captured on video, which appears to show Cofield sneaking up on the victim with 2 roller skates in her hands and knocking her to the ground. She continued hitting the woman even as a bystander attempted to intervene. Cofield denied being the woman in the video and was combative toward law enforcement throughout her arrest. She destroyed a chair inside the interrogation room and resisted being handcuffed as she was placed into an isolation cell. The young woman was charged with aggravated assault, destruction of public property, and resisting arrest, and remains in custody on bonds totaling $150,000. Number 21. Glenn Jackson. A Kentucky man has pleaded guilty to killing his girlfriend at the 11th hour, bringing a nearly 6-year-old case one step closer to a long-awaited resolution. 47-year-old Eastern Kentucky University professor Ella Jackson was reported missing in October of 2019 by her husband Glenn, who told police that she never returned after leaving their Richmond home to walk her dog. Glenn's story didn't seem to add up, and investigators became even more suspicious of him after discovering that Ella had met with a domestic violence advocate just days before she vanished. Authorities charged Glenn with Ella's murder in April of 2020, and her partial skeletal remains were found 2 weeks later near a property that the suspect owned in another county. The medical examiner was unable to establish a cause of death, and Glenn entered an Alford plea last week to a reduced manslaughter charge, along with tampering with evidence and abuse of a corpse. Sentencing is scheduled for March 12th, and he's facing up to 14 years in prison, but could see freedom again in as little as 8 years, due to credit for time served. Number 20. Jaida Monique Braddy. The search for a missing barber from Massachusetts has ended in the discovery of his decomposing body and the arrest of his accused killer. 32-year-old David Hutchinson's family raised the alarm on his disappearance after he failed to return home from a trip to South Carolina. His whereabouts remained a mystery until later in January, when his remains were found in a garbage can outside an abandoned home in Marion. Police located the body after receiving a tip, and while official autopsy results are pending, the case is being investigated as a homicide. The suspect, 41-year-old Jaida Monique Braddy, has been charged with accessory after the fact, and investigators are remaining tight-lipped about their findings while they work to get to the bottom of the case. Hutchinson's family claims that he was lured to South Carolina with the offer of a money-making opportunity from a woman who claimed to be an entrepreneur. They believe he was killed during an altercation over the attempted theft of his barber supplies, and the extent of Braddy's involvement in the crime remains unclear. Number 19. Eric Oelkers. An Oregon man who's accused of shooting 2 police officers was extremely vocal during a court hearing on Wednesday, making his feelings about the situation he's in abundantly clear. 41-year-old Eric Oelkers is accused of opening fire on the cops on a busy Portland sidewalk while they responded to a call about a threat with a weapon. The officers did not return fire, and both suffered non-fatal injuries, and Oelkers fled the scene on foot. He was captured in late January following a week-long manhunt and was arraigned last week on 2 counts each of attempted aggravated murder, attempted assault, and unlawful use of a weapon, along with other charges. During the hearing, Oelkers described the court process as unconstitutional and an illegal insurrection. He warned repeatedly that Trump is coming and yelled "Have fun in hell" as he was led out of the courtroom and taken back to Multnomah County Jail, where he remains held without bond. Number 18. Jayvion Rice. While responding to a report of an accidental shooting at a Spartanburg County, South Carolina home last Tuesday evening, sheriff's deputies found 21-year-old Sky Anastasia Logan suffering from a bullet wound on the front porch, while her young child called for her from inside. She had been shot in the torso and was rushed to the hospital, where she died from her injuries later that night. The shooter, 19-year-old Jayvion Rice, told investigators that the gun discharged accidentally, but his version of events did not line up with the evidence, and police learned that the couple were arguing when the shooting took place. Rice was charged with murder and possession of a weapon and could face a lifetime behind bars if convicted as charged. The judge remanded him without bond ahead of his next court hearing, which is scheduled for April 27th. Number 7. Darren Christopher Abbey. A convicted killer has been ordered to serve a century behind bars in Montana, where he murdered a fellow camper following a chance encounter in October of 2024. The victim, 35-year-old Dustin Kajersom, had set up a tent in the Big Sky area when he crossed paths with Darren Christopher Abbey. While we may never know exactly what happened, something went wrong after the men drank a few beers together and Abbey attacked Kajersom with a screwdriver and an axe. He then fled the scene, where Kajersom's girlfriend found his body 2 days later. While it was initially thought that Kajersom might have been attacked by a bear, DNA from the crime scene turned up as a match to Abbey and his twin brother, who was already serving prison time for an unrelated crime. Abbey was arrested roughly 2 weeks after the killing, and he was found guilty in November of deliberate homicide and 2 counts of tampering with evidence. He acted remorseful during his sentencing hearing until he learned his punishment, at which point he accused the system of being crooked and vowed to appeal his case. Number 16. Khadeeja Muhammad. When she was not granted immediate access to see her daughter at the girls' elementary school, a North Carolina mother kicked a pregnant resource officer. 44-year-old Khadeeja Muhammad entered the school in the small city of Washington and demanded to see her daughter, whom she had reportedly been banned from contacting by the state's Division of Social Services due to an ongoing custody dispute. Staff members were attempting to determine whether Muhammad could see the child when she became agitated and impatient. She began screaming profanities at staff members and refused the resource officer's orders to leave, prompting the officer to radio for backup. Muhammad remained combative even after additional units arrived and kicked the officer while being removed from the building. She was released on bond after being booked on charges of assault on a pregnant woman, assault on a government official, resisting a public officer, second-degree trespassing, and disorderly conduct. And the judge overseeing her case has recommended a mental evaluation. Number 15. Olivia Clendenin. An attempted murder charge could land a suspect behind bars for a very long time, but an Ohio woman was all smiles when she was booked into custody for opening fire at a New Year's party after she caught her boyfriend and ex-husband talking. 29-year-old Olivia Clendenin tried persuading her ex to leave the gathering in Clear Creek Township, where guests had convened, to ring in the 2026 New Year, but he refused to go, prompting her to fire 8 shots from a .40 caliber handgun. One of the bullets struck an innocent bystander in the abdomen, and Clendenin crashed her mother's SUV while attempting to flee from the party. She was convicted last week of attempted murder, illegally discharging a firearm at or into a home, and 2 assault charges, and is facing at least a decade behind bars. Her sentencing date has yet to be announced. Number 14. Nancy Guthrie. In a case that has dominated news headlines across America over the last week, the mother of journalist Savannah Guthrie was kidnapped from her home in Catalina Foothills, Arizona, and remains missing. Investigators are working tirelessly to locate 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, who is reportedly safe but scared while in the hands of her captors, according to a ransom note that was dropped off at the victim's residence. It remains unclear whether the demand is authentic or a hoax, and one person has already been arrested thus far for sending the Guthrie family a phony ransom letter. The authorities are revealing little about the progress of their investigation, but have revealed that blood found outside the victim's home belongs to Nancy. FBI agents were seen towing the senior citizen's SUV away from her property. A $50,000 reward is being offered for information leading to the arrest of the suspects. In the meantime, Savannah and her siblings are pleading desperately with their mother's kidnappers to negotiate her mother's safe release. Number 13. Bradey Ming. A Florida teenager is facing serious charges for deliberately setting his friend on fire while others looked on and laughed. 17-year-old Bradey Ming fell under suspicion amid the circulation of disturbing footage, which appears to show the suspect asking the victim if he wanted to be on fire. He then ran toward the victim while dumping gasoline, causing the young man's feet and legs to become engulfed in flames. Onlookers could be heard laughing as the boy jumped into nearby Lake Kerr. He suffered multiple second-degree burns and was airlifted to the hospital, but he lied to his parents about the incident, claiming that he had accidentally set himself ablaze. His father soon discovered otherwise after seeing the footage and contacted law enforcement, resulting in Ming's arrest for felony aggravated battery. A witness claimed that Ming hadn't acted maliciously, but that it's now for the court to decide, and he remains held without bond at the Marion County Jail as he awaits his next hearing. Number 12. Jonathon Hacket. An ex-Pizza Hut employee apparently couldn't get enough of his former workplace and was caught breaking into the restaurant on 2 occasions, including to make and sell pizzas for customers. Police arrested 41-year-old Jonathon Hacket at the fast food joint in Kinston, North Carolina, early last week while responding to a reported break-in at the property. According to investigators, it was the second time Hacket had broken into the building. During the first break-in, he made and sold 10 pizzas, pocketing $50 in ill-gotten proceeds. Employees tried to stop him during the second break-in, resulting in a physical fight that landed him in the emergency room with a swollen eye. After receiving treatment for his injury, Hacket was booked into the Lenoir County Jail on multiple charges, including breaking and entering, obtaining property by false pretenses, larceny after breaking and entering, and a city curfew violation. Number 11. Jose Pagan Jr. A high school-aged boy with alleged ties to a satanic white supremacist group is facing charges in Florida for plotting to shoot up a church and having inappropriate images of minors in his possession. Jose Pagan Jr. was arrested by Hillsborough County detectives after they had received a tip about his sinister plans. According to reports, Pagan had espoused extremist beliefs and spoke about his violent aspirations in a chat room and was identified as a suspect based on his IP address. An investigation was launched, leading to the discovery of Pagan's involvement in the Temple of Blood group, which reportedly believes in achieving enlightenment through ritualistic violence. Police raided the teen's home in Wimoma and found ammunition, multiple guns, and illicit images of juveniles, resulting in Pagan's arrest on terrorism and other related charges. He reportedly seemed nonchalant during questioning despite the severity of his charges, causing members of law enforcement to fear what might happen if he's released back into the community anytime soon. Number 10. Courtney Drysdale. 30-year-old Courtney Drysdale was opening up her bar in Momence, Illinois last Monday morning when she was gunned down in cold blood by a gun-wielding robber who entered the business and demanded money from the cash register. She complied with the order but was shot execution-style by the gunman, who was later identified as 47-year-old Julius E. Burks Jr. The suspect tried to steal a recording device, but investigators were able to retrieve footage of the shooting. Authorities appealed to the public for help identifying the shooter, and Burks was arrested outside his Hammond, Indiana home just hours later. Burks waived his extradition to Illinois but will first deal with a separate criminal case from late December before he faces justice for Drysdale's death. In addition to the murder case, he's accused of breaking into an ex-girlfriend's home and has a criminal record dating back to the mid-90s when he was convicted of murder as a teenager. Number 9. Gregory Anthony Zecker. The stepson of the famous Dwayne Dog the Bounty Hunter Chapman is facing charges for the accidental shooting death of his son, who was killed during a UFC viewing party at home in Naples, Florida more than 6 months earlier. 39-year-old Gregory Anthony Zecher was allegedly drunk and high on marijuana when he shot the boy, whose name was Anthony. Reports state that Zecher had brandished the firearm several times without the magazine in, but at some point it was reinserted, resulting in the single deadly bullet that killed his son. Zecher was placed on a psychiatric hold in the immediate aftermath of the tragedy and is now in custody on charges of aggravated manslaughter of a child with a firearm and using a firearm while under the influence. He's currently being held at the Collier County Jail and is due back in court on March 2nd. Number 8. Hailey Buzbee. The search for a missing Indiana teenager has taken a tragic turn as investigators become increasingly convinced that she is no longer alive. 17-year-old Hailey Buzbee vanished in early January after meeting a man on a gaming platform, whom police have identified as 39-year-old Tyler Thomas. The suspect picked Buzbee up in her neighborhood and took her to his property in Hocking County, Ohio, where authorities believe he killed her within days of meeting. Thomas reportedly admitted to picking Buzbee up and has been arrested for tampering with evidence and for charges related to his possession of illicit material featuring minors. The investigation is ongoing, with the focus now centered on recovering Buzbee's body. Number 7. Kamarion Kendrick. A Georgia teenager who gained infamy for smiling during his arrest probably isn't grinning anymore now that he's been sentenced to life behind bars. Kamarion Kendrick was just 17 years old when he was apprehended 2 years ago for killing Emmanuel Dorsey during a fight between football rivals at a high school in Griffin. Dorsey was shot in the neck in September of 2023 after noticing that Kendrick had a gun and running for safety along with others who had seen the firearm. Kendrick fled the scene and was captured 8 days later in neighboring Henry County. Neither he nor Dorsey were gang members, but they hung out with people who were members of rival gangs, leading to the deadly dispute that cut the victim's life short. Kendrick was found guilty of felony murder and 3 RICO counts last week, following a trial, and was ordered to serve life without parole plus 85 years, giving him a literal lifetime to reflect on his regrettable actions. Number 6. Michael Vieira and Daniel Santana. In what may be the biggest drug bust in Nassau County, New York history, 2 convicted murderers were arrested last week after they were caught with $20 million worth of cocaine at a Holiday Inn in Plainview. 40-year-old Michael Vieira and 35-year-old Daniel Santana had traveled to Long Island from Florida for the express purpose of purchasing the nearly 700-pound drug load and were arrested just as the transaction drew to a close. Both suspects are from Puerto Rico, where they were previously imprisoned for their involvement in murders on the Caribbean island. They pleaded not guilty to drug charges during their arraignment hearings early last week and remain held without bond, while prosecutors attempt to upgrade their charges. Number 5. William Stevenson. The ex-husband of former First Lady Jill Biden has been charged with first-degree murder for the death of his wife, who was killed at the couple's Ellesmere, Delaware home in late December. 64-year-old Linda Stevenson was pronounced dead at the scene after resuscitation efforts failed to revive her, and police are treating her death as a homicide, although official autopsy results are pending. 77-year-old William Stevenson, who was married to Jill Biden for 5 years during the 1970s, was arrested early last week following a weeks-long investigation. He remains in custody with bail set at $500,000, and authorities have revealed few details about what led up to the killing. Number 4. Michelle Montgomery. Investigators in New York City have identified the dismembered remains of a woman that were found in a plastic bag as 39-year-old mother of 4, Michelle Montgomery, who lived in an apartment building near the Brooklyn public housing complex where her mutilated body was discovered early last week. She was killed after a rare night out with friends, unaware that she would never make it home from the outing to a Mexican restaurant in Williamsburg. No arrests have been made, and investigators are unsure whether Montgomery had any connections to the apartment building where her body was found. Her family is equally clueless about what might have happened to their loved one, whose husband said was in a good mood and that nothing seemed wrong when she left to go out. An autopsy has been conducted, but the medical examiner is withholding a cause of death while awaiting additional test results. Number 3. Cody Pester. A Nebraska teacher who began a romantic relationship with a former student the day she graduated could face up to 20 years in prison for failing to wait 90 days as required by law. 26-year-old Cody Pester began exchanging flirtatious text messages with the 18-year-old in May and the two became intimate within 2 months of the girl's graduation. He later admitted to having intercourse with the teen at least 6 times, and although the young woman is legal to consent, state law forbade the pair from dating so soon after she finished school. Police launched an investigation in December after receiving a tip about the relationship, and Pester is suspended from his job pending the outcome of his case. Number 2. Chad Michael Watts. An anti-ICE protest in Buda, Texas, erupted into violence when a middle-aged man instigated a fight with a group of teens and violently assaulted a girl. The attack was captured on video, which authorities say shows 45-year-old Chad Michael Watts shoving the female victim to the ground while her friends tried to pull him away from her. He then knocked a teen boy to the ground before grabbing another young man by the neck and flipping him onto the ground. Watts fled to his truck and sped off as numerous bystanders began taking swings and kicking him. He could be seen clutching a MAGA hat and grinning before he drove away and was later arrested on 2 counts of assault causing injury. The incident began as a verbal disagreement before escalated into physical aggression, according to school officials, who are now requiring students who leave school to protest to be signed out by a parent. Number 1. Arizona hazing death. 3 20-year-old fraternity members have been charged in connection with the death of an 18-year-old pledge who was found lifeless last week after a night of extremely heavy drinking. Bystanders found the Northern Arizona University student passed out shortly before 9 o'clock in the morning and tried to revive him, but their efforts were in vain. Authorities are still working to establish the cause of the young man's death and have not disclosed his identity, although sources familiar with the tragedy have told reporters that he was a freshman in his 2nd semester at the school. He had attended a rush party the night before his death, where pledges were reportedly forced to consume dangerous amounts of alcohol. The fraternity's president, Ryan Creech, treasurer, Riley Cass, and new member educator Carter Eslick are each facing a hazing charge, and the university has made it clear in a statement to the public that it does not approve of the practice under any circumstances.